The modern era can be considered as the time from the mid-1800s through pre-World War I, 1900s. Modernity reached its peak between 1890 and 1917, although varying historians have different views on when the modern era took place and what it actually was. The modern era was a time when Enlightenment thinking was back and stronger than ever. This era was characterized and set into motion by the Second Industrial Revolution and its repercussions. Economies were growing, standards of living was increasing due to new scientific breakthroughs. People were living longer, and it seemed to the people of that time that they were near to creating the perfect life using science. Due to the recent development of pasteurization, the germ theory, and sanitation standards, people were healthier and living much longer lives. The general economic success in the modern era allowed people a higher standard of living and a higher general happiness. People truly believed that they could fix everything with science, and that they were set to soon live in the perfect society. The modern era was one of the most optimistic eras in all of history. The modern era ended with the eruption of World War I in 1918. The war was on a much larger scale than any other war had ever been, and it was much more deadly than any other war due to new technology. Mass citizen deaths were possible, and people thought that the use of these new deadly technologies could wipe out all of human life. They were right. This took their positive, loving view of technology and turned it on its head. Modern people thought that technology and science were going to save them and lead them to a perfect society. But in 1918 and the following years, people started to realize that the same technology they had so optimistically developed could be the cause of their demise. This led into the postmodern era, which some scholars believe we are still present in. But back to the modern era, let's break down the early 1900s. In the ages between 1800 and the present, the driving ideologies in all countries and peoples had been nationalism. Starting essentially in the French Revolution, growing during the Napoleonic era, and dwindling down in the 1830s, only to have a resurgence in the 1850s, people were driven by nationalism at a rate that was unprecedented. Now, there are always a few exceptions. One exceptionally divergent mind was Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was a German philosopher who lived from 1844 to 1900. Nietzsche may be most well known for one of his most controversial statements, "God is dead," in 1888. Nietzsche challenged the Christian faith in saying that he knew that there was no God, but rather that mankind had made up God as an answer to the fundamental human questions. What is the purpose of life? What comes after death? For Nietzsche, the answer was simple. He believed that long ago, humans had made up God to give purpose to life, when there really, according to Nietzsche, is absolutely no purpose. His philosophy states that there is no purpose for life for mankind, just like there is no purpose for the lives of dogs or cats. Our only duty in our life is to observe that which is around us. Nietzsche also had an answer to what comes after death. It doesn't matter, we won't be alive to see it. Some more of Nietzsche's both known and unknown quotes give us a glimpse into his persona. And those who were seen dancing thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. In heaven, all the interesting people are missing. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. I cannot believe in a God who wants to be praised all the time. He who has a why to live, or can bear almost any how. Man is the cruelest animal. Is man merely a mistake of God's, or God merely a mistake of man? Faith, not wanting to know what the truth is. Nietzsche's thoughts on life can be considered rather depressing, and there may be a reason for that. Nietzsche was born in 1844, meaning that he was raised in the revolutionary era that took place all across Europe, rising to height in 1848. This would place Nietzsche's most formative childhood years dead center to the time period of strong dissatisfaction, unrest, and anti-nationalism. Along with this, another reason for Nietzsche's general anti-modern and anti-optimistic ideas could be that he was extremely sick his whole life. Nietzsche suffered from severe migraines, strong depression, and occasional mental breakdowns. As Nietzsche grew older, he saw new medical inventions develop that he would never be able to gain from. This could have been a source of anti-optimistic, bitter feelings that dwelled inside.